What's the first step to hacking the female brain?
The very first step is you have to establish that you are a high-value male.
How do you do that?
Well, there's a lot of ways to do it, but one of the best ways is to tell them that a story that indicates you are of high value.
So give me a story. Give me a story that illustrates your high value.
I'll give you one right now.
Okay.
I show up to the bar. You're a pretty lady.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I'm late to the bar. Crap. And she'll go, what happened? I'll go, well, pretty much spilt Dr. Pepper all over my seats. Now I couldn't even take the helicopter.
Wow.
Now, if you break that down,
Yep.
first she's thinking he's late, so he's busy.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually means that he's doing other cool stuff.
Yes.
Then I also dropped a hint that I drink Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper's
that is the highest quality soda that there is.
It's pretty good.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And then I complained about spilling on the seats.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen carefully, I was talking about helicopter.
Mm.
Now, helicopter is a very expensive kind of car that goes like up and around.
Yes.
And ladies know that helicopters are like really good.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, and ladies have just recently have gotten into helicopters.
Yeah, recently?
Yeah, just recently, ladies started to get into helicopters.
What do you think that was? The reason for that?
Probably the internet or Facebook.
They didn't probably know about it before.
What?
When the internet showed them what the helicopter.
Yeah, girls are able to see pictures of helicopters now.
Hmm.
And now they have all these ideas about helicopters, and they actually are really interested in them.
Smart ideas, do you think?
I'm sure it's maybe they have ideas for new types of helicopters.
What's the first step to hacking the female brain?
The very
Okay then. All righty then. We come with tips. Now you know how to hack the female brain. It's very, very simple. Just drop a little tidbits there about your helicopters. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Logic. Tonight, we're going to break down Stephen Colbert and the lies that he told, the lying lies that he told, which I think he's actually probably going to get away with it. Meaning, I think it's probably sadly, the sad reality of life in America, in the West these days, is it probably ends up working out well for him, just based on what I've seen so far, which is unfortunate. But don't worry, his day's coming. Don't you worry, his day is coming. Also, Zohran Mamdani has basically already had to start breaking some of his promises. He's been in office 45 days or thereabouts, and he's like, yeah, you know, some of them promises I made to you, let's forget about that. Let's just talk about like reality, because somehow when a communist plan meets reality, things are not quite as free as they once seemed, like when you were making your campaign promises. And finally, Hillary Clinton coming out and talking about her relationship with Epstein. All this and more tonight on the following program. We also have our nightly goal, which is 15 super chats or more of $10 or more. And it doesn't have to be super chats. Could be Rumble rants, could be digger dollars over in locals. Yesterday, I actually noticed I missed one from J.H. Schwabach, which makes me feel kind of stinky. Makes me feel, because he had actually a pretty funny comment in there. J.H. is a funny dude. And I apologize to you for that, J.H. I missed that one over there. But we are, he made a comment because I shared yesterday a video of an ICE agent who was trolling the heck out of one of these anti-ICE loonies. And he said he would love to buy that guy a beer. Totally get where he's coming from in that. Anyhow, so that is what we have going on tonight. Settle in there. This is probably the appropriate moment, just so we don't forget for later, that you hit that like and subscribe buttons, because otherwise we forget, you get busy, you go for your Dr. Pepper, because that is the coolest drink of them all. And and you just, you forget to hit the like, and then afterwards you feel guilty. The way I feel guilty if I forget to read a J.H. Schwalbeck, locals comment. You feel bad, and I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad. I want you to feel good about yourself. That's part of why we actually do this thing. So feel good about yourself. Please kindly hit the like button and feel like a better person. Topping off the show tonight, we should talk about Stephen Colbert. We should talk about Stephen Colbert and what he said and did, because this guy is a sneaky little guy. He's a sneaky little guy. Now, at the risk of NBC or whomever dinging me for this, I am sharing this because I want to go over for educational purposes, some of the FCC rules. Because when I heard this story, I was like, this is an interesting area of law, which is confusing to some people, to a lot of people. And I want you to actually understand how the law relates to this particular story. So you may or may not have heard. That Stephen Colbert was having on a guy by the name of Tallarico yesterday. Tallarico. He's a Democrat member representative who's looking to run for the Senate. And he's got his primaries upcoming now against Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, whose seat is being gerrymandered into oblivion, and now finds herself without any representation she could do in the House, and has big dreams of making it on into the Senate. One of her opponents in the Democrat primary is Tallarico, who is supposed to be making an appearance on Colbert's, what's he on, the Late Show with Colbert? I don't know, whatever they call his stupid show. No one really watches, so no one cares. But it led to this interesting moment where Stephen Colbert was doing his thing and whining. And if he's whining, he's talking about Trump.
That's Texas State Representative James Tallarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Then...
That's a lie. They did not tell him that.
Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I could not mention me not having him on. And because...
Also not true.
Because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this.
He's so brave, considering the fact that none of this actually happened. A variant of the first part of this happened, but not the way he phrased it, where he's like, you can't have him on. That's not what they said. We'll talk about it.
Probably heard. So you might have heard of this thing called the equal time rule, okay? It's an old FCC rule that applies only to radio and broadcast television, not cable or streaming, that says...
And that part is true. The equal time rule only applies to radio and television, to broadcasts. It does not apply to cable, and it does not apply to the internet. And the reason why it only applies to broadcasts is because there's a limited space for broadcasts. So the FCC is governing broadcasts because you can't just the physics of how this whole thing works with broadcasting out through amplitude and frequency modulations. That's you can't have overlapping, otherwise nothing works. So NBC gets their allotment, CBS gets their allotment, ABC gets their allotment for both television and for radio, as do obviously many other broadcasters. The FCC governs that. This goes all the way back to the 1920s because you can't have overlap. And there are certain regulations which relate to what type of broadcasting you can do and what rules you have in order to make sure that there's fairness. So one of those rules relates to, under the FCC, relates to equal time, in that you cannot bring on a candidate. You cannot bring him on the air unless you give equal time an equally sort of, similar type of way to his political opponents. Now, this is a rule that goes back literally a century. 1927 is when this was introduced, the equal time concept. So we have 100 years of this being the rule, that you must give equal time to the political opponent. Now, there's exceptions to that rule. The exception to that rule is if you are a news agency doing an interview, so you're a regularly scheduled news agency doing an interview, you do not need to give equal time to an opponent. That's an exception to the equal time rule. So if 60 Minutes decides that they're going to give an interview to a political candidate, they do not need to give similar time slot and availability at a similar, to the opponent of that political candidate. And the reason is because they feel like it's not going to be fair to have airways basically dominate in this way and lean their hands on the scale in favor of one particular candidate over another. So that is, but it does not apply to the internet, and it applies to radio and it applies to TV. It does not apply to cable TV, and it also does not apply to the internet. There were other tweaks that came along over the years in 1970 and that there were tweaks that came in with respect to, well, what if you're not having the political candidate? Instead of having the political candidate, you have someone who's a spokesperson for the political candidate. And for a period of time, spokesperson, if you had a spokesperson for a political candidate on, you had to give equal time to a similar spokesperson for their opponent. And then they started talking about what if it's not a political candidate, and there was an offshoot from that spokesperson rule, which was called, I think, the Zoppler rule or something to that effect. I think that's what it's called, because Zoppler was someone who was a spokesperson for someone. So there was an offshoot from the Zoppler rule, which was basically saying, well, what if it's not a political candidate? It's just you're taking a side on a political issue. You're coming out, let's say, for the right to kill a fetus, and you have someone who's basically going on like that for a period of time, there was a rule which said you had to present a similar opposing perspective. But that all got washed away. I think in 1987 is when they took out one of those two rules, and then years later they took out. I think they first took out the rule about the spokesperson in 1987, and then they later carved out the whole thing about equal perspectives on controversial topics. So that's all gone with respect to the spokespersons or with respect to the issues. And frankly, with respect to the issues, it starts becoming a real encroachment on free speech. It starts becoming, because, if a news station wants to go out there and advocate for a particular position, they're paying the money for it. They're spending their money there. So I understand there's limited airspace, but, that's what they want to do. And let's face it, everyone's got their own biases. I mean, everyone, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're going to have some sort of biases. So they basically said, okay, we're going to do away with those rules. But remaining today is this rule that goes all the way back to 1927, saying they have to give equal time to an opposing candidate. He wanted to get James Tallarico on. James Tallarico is a candidate for the Democratic primary in the Democratic primary to run for Texas Senate. And his lawyers properly told him, well, if you do that, you need to have Jasmine Crockett on, because she's running against him.
As if a show has a candidate on during an election, they have to have all that candidate's opponents on as well. It's the FCC's most time-honored rule, right after no nipples at the Super Bowl. This
is a very timely joke. I mean, I think that joke landed really well, like what, 30 years ago when Janet Jackson was on stage. That was pretty good. Yeah, so it is a it is a relatively new thing. And this is what got him upset. Well, you'll see what got him upset.
There's long been an exception for this rule, an exception for news interviews.
Yes, news interviews.
And talk show interviews with politicians.
No, that's not true. There was never an official exception for talk shows. There was never that. That is not true.
Now, that's crucial.
No, it's crucial, but it's also false. Yeah, I understand to your position it's crucial, but that was never an officially sanctioned position in the FCC. Now, perhaps many administrations didn't enforce this. The FCC under many administrations didn't enforce it with respect to talk shows. But it's not like there was ever a rule that talk shows were okay. That was never true. Especially, I mean, consider this. If he goes out there and defames someone during the course of this interview, he's going to say, it's just opinion. I'm not news. This is not factual. No one's taking me seriously. I mean, this is what this guy is going to say, same way Rachel Maddow would. Well, if that's what you're saying, in that case, why are you calling yourself news? Why? How can you possibly, you want to have your cake and eat it too? You want to come out there and say, you know, anytime you say something defamatory, you want to sit there and say, well, no one takes me seriously. But then when it comes to the whole equal airtime thing, you want to pretend that you're some news station. It's ridiculous.
How else were voters supposed to know back in '92 that Bill Clinton sucked at saxophone? But on January,
oh, I don't know. Maybe they could have done that if they put on Bill Clinton's opponent. That's how they could have done it.
January 21st of this year, a letter was released by FCC chairman and smug bowling pin Brendan Carr. In this letter, Carr said he was thinking about dropping the exception for talk shows because
he wasn't saying I'm thinking about it. He was like, I'm telling you now, there is no exception for talk shows.
He said some of them were motivated by partisan purposes.
And they are motivated by partisan purposes. You make that point every single night. Every single night.
Well, sir, you're chairman of the FCC, so FCCU. Because I think...
Very clever.
Because I think you are motivated by partisan purposes yourself. Sir, you smelt it because you dealt it. You are Dutch of an...
You're a very serious news organization here. I mean, you should probably try transitioning, because you do love transitioning. You should probably try transitioning into a serious news show, because without the laugh track there and the canned laughter and the applause signs, this is weak.
America's airwaves. Let's just call this what it is. Donald Trump's administration wants to silence anyone who says anything bad about Trump on TV, because all Trump does is watch TV. Okay?
How is he trying to silence anyone who says anything bad about him when the whole point to what he's saying is you can't just have Tallarico on, you need to have his opponent, Jasmine Crockett. You think Jasmine Crockett's going to be saying great things about Donald Trump? I don't think so. I don't know. My gut is, I don't think so. So what he's actually saying is, if you have one person on who's bashing Donald Trump, you need to have two people on who are bashing Donald Trump. You can't just have one. You need to have both of them who are both bashing Donald Trump. How the hell is that censorship? How does this make any sense to a thinking person? It doesn't make any sense at all. But like any Democrat thought leader, they're assuming that their listeners are definitely not going to ever be qualified as thinking people. I mean, come on.
He's like a toddler with too much screen time. He gets cranky and then drops a load in his diapers. So it's no surprise. It's
like literally the same joke over and over again, night after night.
No surprise that two of the people most affected by this threat are me and my friend Jimmy Kimmel.
You're not two of the people most affected by it. Jimmy Fallon is affected by it. I don't know. That creepy dude, that creepy Australian dude, or whatever he is, who's got his late night show, he's affected by it. Everyone's affected by it. Everyone's like, oh, it's all about me. It's not about you. You're supposed to be going off the air, I thought. I almost forgot to grab my Dr. Pepper from my helicopter. Thanks, Joe. You're welcome, Blasterbots. Jazzy Crockett being Bernie Sanders by Texas Democrats. Oh, 100%. She is. You're gonna hear from her. She is totally being body slammed. They do not want her. They're like, she has no statewide appealability. We know she has no chance. They do not want her. That's why this idiot doesn't want Jasmine Crockett on. He does not want to make her endeared. So, yeah, she's totally being Bernie Sanders. It's 100% spot on.
This letter dropped. We both talked about the letter on air, and then later, Carr defended it like this.
If Kimmel or Colbert want to continue to do their programming and they don't want to have to comply with this requirement, then they can go to a cable channel or a podcast or a streaming service, and that's fine.
Which is where they probably belong. Let's face it. Let's face it. It's probably where they belong, considering how their ratings keep dwindling.
Great idea, man whose job is to regulate broadcast TV.
Yeah, he's saying you shouldn't be doing that on broadcast TV. That's exactly what he's saying.
Everyone just leave broadcast TV.
No, not everyone. Just you. Just you. If you're not willing to handle following the rules, then just you and Jimmy Kimmel. Which is interesting considering how you're hanging on to your spot there by a thread.
It's like when Arby's changed their slogan to Arby's, would it kill you to eat a salad? Anyway, am I being clear? Have I been clear so far?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, this one up. Super important. Okay. Anyway, I decided to take Brendan Carr's advice. I am going to interview James Tallarico tonight, but it's not going to be on The Late Show. It's going to be on The Late Show's YouTube page. The network says I can't give you URL or a QR code, but I promise you, if you go to our YouTube page, you'll find it.
Now, why do I say that he won? The reason I'm saying he won is by making this whole public spectacle out of like, oh no, I'm being censored by Trump with a rule that's 100 years old. I'm so censored. Oh, it's cancel culture. Oh my gosh, it's fascism. It's fascism. That this is literally a rule that's been around for 100 years. But by making himself in his whole whiny baby perspective here and making a big stink about it, that he's putting it not on the air, but on the internet, apparently it's already got 10 million views, which makes this something that's like more watched than any interview he's done in his life. So in that sense, he has won because they do want Tallarico very badly instead of Jasmine Crockett, very badly. So, and that's what Theo Wold actually points out over here. Which I'm not sure who he is, but I don't know. He's some guy. He's a guy on the internet who said something intelligent, so I'm going to quote him because I think it's proper to give proffers to people who do good things. Neat little trick here from Tallarico and Colbert. Federal law since 1932 has required broadcast media to give equal time. I thought it was 27. He's saying 32. To give equal time to competing political candidates, but Colbert wanted a platform only Tallarico and not his other opponents. He wanted specifically not to platform Jasmine Crockett. So he interviews Tallarico, but releases the video only online. Everyone who sees it thinks it aired on the show. Colbert doesn't have to give equal time, and since he has virtually no TV viewers anyway, he still reaches his maximum audience. Plus, it ends up getting a whole big stink about how, oh, Trump is a fascist censoring Colbert. Meanwhile, Tallarico falsely claims that he's being censored and gets free publicity 2 weeks out from his primary election and at the start of early voting for Texas primary, as Kimmy here points out, by claiming that almost a century of federal law is somehow President Trump's fault. An ingenious way of getting around the law indeed. It is. It is. It worked out well for him. He's a big, fat, stinking liar, but you probably already knew that. You probably knew that already. Last night, Stephen Colbert went rogue, ignored the network lawyers at CBS by talking about how he wasn't allowed to have Texas Senate candidate James Tallarico on without also having opponents on due to equal time rules. This is not going rogue. it's not going rogue. Benny Johnson's mistaken because that's not giving him time. He's talking about, what's going on in the world. It's not talking about, he's not promoting Tallarico as a candidate. So I don't think he's got to give equal time. What were you going to say? Give equal time on Jasmine Crockett and talking about the FCC? Like, what does that mean? He then taunted Chairman Brendan Carr by saying, FCCU, is Colbert going to get ripped off the air early? I don't think so. I don't think so, Benny, because I think that Theo's take here is correct. He circumvented successfully. But Brian Stelter says, this just in from CBS. The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with Representative James Tallarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for two other candidates, including Representative Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion on the broadcast rather than potentially providing the equal time options. So, this is him breaking it down for you. This is Brian Stelter breaking it down for you, which is, he was basically said, you can have Tallarico, you can have him. You just need to have jazzy jazz. You need to have jazz hands on there. You got to get her on there. CBS saying the same thing. Let's catch this clip here of Jasmine Crockett, because she know what's up. She know what's up. She might sound like an idiot, but she knows what's going on here. She knows that this is Stephen Colbert slamming her and saying, I don't want Jasmine Crockett to come on. I was trying to hope to boost Tallarico over Jasmine Crockett. But she knows what's going on.
I have been briefed somewhat about this Colbert situation. Not fully, and I'm waiting on a statement. I have done Colbert a number of times. If you paid attention, I've done Colbert.
Oh, you see, I'm not unpopular. I've been on Colbert. People don't hate me. People like me.
Colbert a number of times. I've done Review a number of times. I've done Kimmel a number of times. I've done all these shows a number of times.
I'm very, very popular. All right? Very, very popular. You listen to me. People like me. People really, really like me.
We did receive information suggesting that the federal government did not shut down this segment. Even
Jasmine Crockett is like, don't blame Trump for this one. Don't blame Trump for this one.
That is my understanding, that the federal government didn't shut this down, and we will do an official statement once we get another official statement that we anticipate is going to be coming from Paramount. All right, so we will read what they say, and then we'll go from there. It is our understanding that Colbert.
This part is funny. She has so little cognizance as to how significantly important good audio is that the next part here, all you hear is a plane going over her head. And you it's like Forrest Gump. She's going to conclude with, and that's all I have to say about that.
Either Mr. Colbert or CBS decided that they would schedule a hearing. And this was because of a fear that the FCC may say something to them, and that there may have been.
Bill Dozer has rated the stream. God bless you, Bill. What she's saying here, in case you cannot hear her, I'll try to give you.
Either Mr. Colbert or CBS.
Mr. Colbert or CBS
Decided that they would schedule a hearing.
decided something.
And this was because of a fear.
This is because of a fear
That the FCC may say something to them.
that the FCC may say something to them.
That there may have been advice to just have me on, and then they could clear the issue.
So they were told, hey, just get Jasmine on. There's no problems. You can have Tallarico on there for an hour if you want. Just give her another hour back. That's all you got to do. It's not that confusing. It's not that hard.
It was my understanding that someone somewhere decided we just don't want to do that, and
Because we don't want Jasmine Crockett.
instead we're going to just do it this way. So I don't believe, and let me be clear, I don't have any love for the current FCC. I don't want anybody to believe that I do. I do not have any love for them. I do think that there are additional layers at play here, and so before we put out our formal statement, I do want to make sure that Paramount, who is the parent company, puts out theirs, and we have exactly.
It's not, the point is they don't want it to be Jasmine Crockett. They want Tallarico to beat Jasmine Crockett and face off against Paxton. They think that he's got a better chance.
What happened versus kind of the mania that just so happens to play out on the very first day of early voting, which feels kind of confusing.
That's her saying, this really kind of hurts. This really kind of hurts. I've been on that show many times, and this kind of hurts that they obviously don't want me to win this primary. They want Tallarico. So that kind of hurts. So she all sad. She all, poor Jazzy. Poor Jazzy. There, Jazzy. Just go to the beauty shop. You'll feel better. Go on a nice little spending spree. You'll feel better. So that's the story there. Any questions? I just want to make sure. This is true. If you hit the like button every time you watch Joe, the powers that be are much less likely to unsubscribe you. Otherwise, it's random. They're like, all right, these people are cool. The rest of them, unsubscribe. So, no, I'll tell you right now. She has The View written all over her. That's my take. She's got a year left in the House, and then she's heading straight for The View. That's what's happening. Probably maybe with Whoopi retiring or something. She'll fill in that corner chair there. Speaking of Whoopi, so I want to talk about Whoopi. Can we get Rand Spear on the show? He's the biggest tort lawyer in the world. He is? I never heard of him. Rand Spear? Is he really? Seriously, never heard of this guy. No, I'm saying she'll take over for Whoopi. Whoopi doesn't seem. How long is Whoopi going to be around? All right, next up. I want to share this with you just because I'm a little concerned about sharing it, to be honest. I want to be clear that I certainly do not endorse violence, and I think that everyone here in this clip that I'm about to show you is a deranged lunatic. But you need to just understand how the left is upping the stakes. And this is brought to us courtesy of our friend Libs of TikTok, who says the left is not violent. Here's 2.5 minutes of leftists directly calling for violence and murder against ICE, Republicans, and the federal government. This is crazy. Some of them don't even look insane. That's what's really crazy. They actually look relatively normal. If you know the loony looking ones, like Pink Frog, they tell you just in their appearance, danger. But some of these people, and this guy is like, sort of loony. I guess he was walking around with this weird looking cape coat or something and his funky beard. He looks a little bit like a loony. But you'll see some of these guys don't look that psychotic. I'll call out the ones which like what they're doing versus the ones which are like, wow, okay.
Just to be clear, we are well past fuck ICE at this point. It is now fight ICE.
And again, I want to be clear for YouTube. I'm not endorsing anything that these people are saying. So I think that they're crazy people.
Oh, well, she was trying to run him over. It's self-defense.
Now, see this one. You see this one, and the neck tats, and the eyes, and the spider leg eyelashes, like the tarantula eyelashes, and you're just sort of like, okay, you know, that's her telling you, danger, 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 danger. That's what she's doing there, right? I mean, you knew this one. Not to mention the multiple nose piercings. You're just like, okay, this is just. Yeah, so here she's weighing in on Renee Good.
To run him over. It's self-defense. I wish she was, and I wish she did. And guess what? If she did and he died, I would have celebrated, because ICE aren't people. They're fucking demons in human form.
You could see where you could see where the dog bit her. I assume this was not during some mating ritual, but when, like, you know, she basically was trying to take over his sleeping quarters or something. But who the heck knows?
And in human form.
Yeah, just to be entirely clear here,
Okay, so here's another, you know, you could see like where the deviated septum was corrected with some sort of metal implement. And then you got like this one here, this thing up here. This one's a new one. That's a new one. So this one also, you're just sort of like, okay. You can also see like from the hair that, like, you know, yeah, he hasn't showered. Like, he basically is trying to punish the Trump administration by like not showering till the end of this one, till the end of this term. So okay.
to not split any hairs, if you support ICE, you are just as bad as ICE. You're a cancer on humanity that should be excised. That is to say, I want you dead.
But this guy here, you know, he seems kind of normal, right? If you looked at him, you wouldn't know it. Erin saying, Joey, I am seeing a no-tie Nearman. It's actually no jacket Nearman tonight. Looking great tonight. Thanks for your entertaining insights. Thank you. Appreciate that. You're awesome, Erin. Much obliged. Yeah. So, yeah. So the last guy, okay, he also looked like a lunatic. This one, though, I'm like, he doesn't look like a psychopath when you first see him.
The only true way to make America great again is to kill a fucking Nazi. So good luck, Godspeed.
I haven't.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these people, like, if you just pass them in the street, you wouldn't realize that this guy is a deranged psychopath, right? You wouldn't know it. I would never know it. Is that a Scientology thing, the let's be clear? Because Kamala would say that all the time. Let us be clear. When she would basically say the most confusing thing in the world.
Godspeed.
I have an idea.
Okay, so this one, at first I thought he was normal, but then I looked at him again and I realized he looks like an extra from The Hobbit. So probably with the protruding forehead, the weirdly shaped, the weirdly sculpted facial hair, the crazy big glasses, the bizarre color tie. I'm like, yeah, I should have realized that with this one. At first glance, you're like, oh, this one should be no. Oh my God, that was not. What is that? That is not Joe Sans spectacles. Please. All right, let's hear from The Hobbit. Let's hear from the.
Speed.
I have an idea.
a No Kings protest, but we have weapons and we use them.
Violence.
Okay. So there you go. There you go. Now this guy, I would have thought he was normal. Like, obviously, he's desperately trying to grow a mustache, and he's like, if I shave this part to make it even, because this part doesn't grow, then I'm gonna look like Adolf. But as I'm looking at it again closer, I think he just shaved. I think he actually shaved it. I'm gonna embiggen him as much as I can. I think he actually is, because there's a straight line over here. I think he just sort of screwed up the little hairs over here. This is really funny, though. This is really funny. All right, let's just stop it. Let's just stop it. You're not my real friends. You're not my real friends.
Against the state.
I mean, I guess he's got the little meth teeth thing going on over here, you know. So maybe that's like a sign. I don't know. If I just saw this guy just walking in the street, I would not just have been like, "Oh, okay, that guy's definitely a crazy leftist." But here he comes.
It's the state. The answer is violence against the state. It's always been violence. Has always been the answer. If you are not loudly advocating for the death and imprisonment of almost everyone in this administration and everyone that has participated in these ICE operations, then you're a fucking collaborator. Remember, if...
Okay, so there you go. Now this one, I appreciate how his facial hair makes sure that you do not miss for a second that his entire face is shaped like an egg. And he's got the droopy vax eyes. I don't know if it's vax eyes or if it's and then he's got like the hair bleeding down into his mouth. There's a lot going on here. Okay. This one I would have identified. This one I would have been like, okay, this is one of those classic danger situations, right? With this one. It's just this. What happened to his head? Look at the top of his head. This is like, you know, hippie version of Mr. Weatherby. This is oh my gosh. All right. Well, he has thoughts that he wants to share. So let's make sure we don't miss any of that.
Remember, if ICE tries to police your polling station, mark your ballot in their blood.
Mark your ballot in their blood. Maybe he was saddled with a very low self-esteem and got himself a job as a human speed bump. And that's when we're seeing the ramifications of that. Whereas like the skull over after repeated thump, 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 basically left him with this sort of like, you know, dazed expression and a flattened, squished skull or something. I don't know. Oh, wow. Maybe that would explain it also. It was like, you know, he was coming out and they got them salad tongs and they stuck it on in there and clamped a little too hard when the skull was still kind of mushy or something. Or it could just be that. I don't think his cheekbones fell 2 inches. I think he just like ate them with the other with the other biscuits.
Thank you.
If they try to break into
So this one looks sort of normal. And so the nose ring is such a giveaway, I guess. The nose ring is such a giveaway.
To your home without a warrant, blow their heads off.
I don't want impeachment.
Okay, this one is my favorite. She's my favorite. We need to savor this one. This one is like you wondered what happened to that woman who was screaming no in November of 2016. You know, the one with the hat on her knee screaming no. Well, she's still around. She got new glasses. And apparently she went Butch Dyke.
I don't want impeachment. I don't want them to serve time. I want them taken into the city town square, hung from their ankles, and cut them from groin to chin.
Tip, don't do that.
Not one of my guests tonight. That's Texas State Representative James Tallarico.
Really?
He was supposed.
Shut up. Sorry about that. This one I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known this one. I don't think I would have spotted this one. That's what's so scary is that some of them look like, you know, you want to replay? You want to replay? All right, we should replay that woman. She deserves a second look. So you can all, you know, get every word of what she's on here. She doesn't want impeachment.
I don't want impeachment. I don't want them to serve time. I want them taken into the city town square, hung from their ankles, and cut them from groin to chin.
I just want to know when the fuck.
Oh my God. What do you mean you couldn't understand what it said? I can't. How many times she's like, I don't want impeachment. I don't want them to serve time. I want them in the city town square, hung from their ankles and gut them from groin to chain. Why is this confusing? That's what he was saying. There, little boy. There, little boy. Neverland is real. She might have been trying to say chin, but yeah.
I just want to know when the fuck we light the torches and get the pitchforks, because we just need to burn this bitch down and start the fuck over. So you would.
I guess it's the earrings. Should have told me. And maybe these got to be tweezed eyebrows also, right? So it's the earrings and the manscaping, which should have told me. These are not. These are like I'm going to turn my eyebrows into rainbows, kind of thing, right? Maybe that was the tell. This one might have slipped past me. Like if I was standing guard, this one might have slipped past me. I'm just saying. I'm the wrong guy to be standing guard because this one might have slipped right past me.
Me.
Oh, bitch.
So like
This guy, I guess maybe I don't know whatever his deal is. This one just looks like he's young and high, and maybe that's a tell. That they're young and high, but also doesn't look like, you know, crazy don't want impeachment girl.
But like, if you just executed one of these Nazis in broad daylight, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. 40 people were there. You didn't execute him. He was threatening your life. Jury of your peers, get out of here.
Because ICE has a.
And this one here also, I was like, I mean, I just noticed the nose ring now, but I would have said that was a cultural thing. I wouldn't have thought that was like, I would have thought that was just like, all right, he's black, he gets away with it.
Violent track record of kidnappings and what now looks like murder, right? So when we see them, we don't need to be answering no questions. We don't need to be asking no questions. We just need to, whoa, hey, sir, boom. That's all I need to do. That's all we need to be doing.
So there you go. It's about the eyebrows. Is that really it? I like it. It is angry eyes. That's true. There are angry eyes there. I guess so. I guess so. I don't know. Okay. I want to move on to Hillary Clinton and her talking about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this is not something you should watch on your own. This is something you really need to have a professional guiding you through. So I'm going to urge you, if I understand that watching it with me is going to take a little bit longer. Trust me, it's for your own safety. It's for your own safety. You really need to be watching it with a trained professional. Do not try this at home alone. I am a trained professional in how to watch, interpret, understand, and giggle at Hillary Clinton. And if you're not trained in this, it starts causing depression, suicidal thoughts, and I don't want that. I don't want that for anyone. Please, if you already watch this, watch it again with me. It'll cheer you up. Sorry? That's right. That's right. Viewers' discretion is advised. Well, it's not with me, because with me, I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to bring you on home. I'm going to bring you on home. All right. Let's watch Hillary Clinton doing her most Hillary-esque Hillarying. Oh my God. I'll skip the little intro here and just go right on into it. You know what? Let's savor the full BBC experience. The full BBC experience. Here we go.
Defender Jeffrey Epstein should testify before Congress. In a BBC interview, Mrs. Clinton also said she and her husband, Bill Clinton, want their forthcoming testimony about Epstein to be public. The couple had previously refused.
So before they didn't want it at all. Now they want it to be public. Why can't I get? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know I can do that. The son of a gun. I really just wanted to have this be. That's wild. I didn't know my extension could do that. I had something here that I was able to. One of my extensions here enable me to manage extensions. I had a YouTube bump up the volume master. I don't want the volume master. I want the YouTube thing. All right, to heck with that. Let's just go. Let's just do it.
She and her husband, Bill Clinton, want their forthcoming testimony about Epstein to be public. The couple had previously refused to testify to the Epstein inquiry and were threatened with contempt proceedings. Former President Bill Clinton appears several times in the Epstein.
Trust me, they're not blacking out Jeffrey Epstein here.
Files that were released by the U.S. Justice Department last month. Mr. Clinton knew Epstein, but has.
It's good that they show these pictures before the interview, because it better helps you appreciate just how much straight gaslighting Hillary does when she's talking about this topic.
denied having any knowledge he was a sex offender and says he cut off contact with him 2 decades ago.
I think that's Ghislaine Maxwell with Clinton. I assume that's Ghislaine and some other individual.
Bill Clinton will appear in Congress for a deposition on the 27th of February, and Hillary Clinton is set to appear the day before. Our Europe correspondent Jessica Parker sat down with Mrs. Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, thank you for talking to BBC News. I want to start off talking about...
She looks so haggard. Okay. Give it to us straight, Hillary. Give it to us straight.
The case of Jeffrey Epstein. You say you never met Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly, your husband did know him. The former president says he knew him before his crimes came to light. But there are also...
He was helping him commit those crimes, but okay.
So associations with Ghislaine Maxwell, including in 2013 when she was a guest at a Clinton Global Initiative event, years after allegations had emerged against her. What I want to know is, do you regret the links that there have been between Epstein, Maxwell, and the Clinton family?
Okay, here we go. Really great opening question. Do you have regrets about the links? Pretty simple question. Do you have regrets about the links between the Clintons and the Epstein-Maxwell collab? You have any regrets about that?
Well, let me start by saying that a law was passed in Congress to require that all the files that have anything to do with them be released. And what we're seeing, I think it's fair to say, is a continuing cover-up by the Trump administration.
He signed the law. He signed the law. He's the one who signed it. You're right, Kimmy. She should have just faded away, but she's so power desperate. Leftists never do. Bob Dole didn't hang around. Where's Dan Quayle? Yeah. I mean, Mike Pence, I guess he has a bit of leftist blood in him. He's still lingering. But yeah. So who signed the law? Who made it a law? Oh, Donald Trump.
In fact, when the Attorney General testified last week, it was quite a scene because she refused to answer questions. She diverted.
She did answer questions.
Attention away from the matters at hand. She refused to look at the survivors. So there's something about this administration's attitude toward this, which I think really leads us to conclude they have something.
Notice how she's complaining about Pam Bondi's deflection from questions in response to a question of, do you regret your links to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? So all of a sudden she starts talking about a statute. She's talking about Pam Bondi and saying Pam Bondi was deflecting. She's diverting. She's not answering questions. So she's been talking now for like, I don't know, 45 seconds, 60 seconds. And all she's basically been doing is diverting and deflecting from the question is, do you regret the links you have with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? She's so stupid. Oh my God.
Something to hide. We don't.
Oh.
We have been willing to say whatever we know. We've even...
You refused to appear. Yeah, they were about to sanction you. They were about to throw you in jail. We've been willing to say everything.
Done it under oath. But they want us to testify, not everyone else who's mentioned many, many times, hundreds of thousands of times in these files. So we've said, fine, let us do it in public. And we will appear in public and we'll answer all your questions.
And we'll get to that in just a moment. But
the question was, do you regret your links with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? Why did you not? Instead, you started complaining how Pam Bondi deflected. That was your deflection. This is true. They were doing her no favors. They're really doing her no favors here. She looks like death waiting for you in the corner. Like if you saw her sitting in the corner, you're having a conversation the entire time. You'd be like, so anyway, Bob, maybe we should have this conversation outside. Oh my God.
Just to be clear, do you regret the links that there have been?
Oh, that question. Oh, that question. Oh, okay. Yeah. So about that question, give us an answer now.
You know, we have no links.
Links? What links? What are you talking about? I don't understand. We have no links. There's nothing here. There's no links. There's no links. Why would you even think that there's links? What are you talking about? You mean like is golf? Is that what you mean? Do you mean golf? Like golf links? We never went golfing. We never went golfing. Oh my God. Yeah, you mean the car? We never got a car together. What are you talking about? I don't understand your question. What links? Oh my God. Oh my God. I think that like when Bill Clinton said it depends on what your definition of the word is, he must have gotten that from her. It's like, how can I try to play semantics games here in ways that someone will find compelling?
We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which...
What, you mean your links?
My husband has said he took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work.
Do we need to like pull up the pictures again of all them honeys sitting on his lap? What about the hot tub? Is this charitable work? It's like, what is that? When you say charitable work, you mean like underage girls doing charity for him? Like, what do you mean? What kind of charitable work? What charitable work have you guys ever done? I mean, I know you have a foundation. Have they ever done any charitable work?
I don't recall ever meeting him.
I don't recall ever meeting him. I don't recall his lawyers speak for, I totally recall, I just don't want to admit it, and I don't think you can prove it. That's what I don't recall very often means. It's lawyers speak, because you know that, hey, if there's a picture out there of me with him, I can just say I don't recall that moment. So I don't recall is something that lawyers, and she's a former lawyer, know to train their clients that, hey, if you're not really comfortable with it, you're not sure it happened, it's probably best, it's always okay to say you don't recall. Now, there's certain things when you're prepping a client for a deposition that you're going to say to them, look, there's certain key elements I'm going to need from you that you're going to need to recall. Like, you're going to need to recall certain things. But most of the other stuff they're asking about, I don't care if you remember that at all or not. And if you're not sure that you remember it, well, then you might not recall. That's a viable answer for you. So, and that way, if the feces ever comes splattering into the fan like us, you can always just be like, oh, I guess that did happen. I didn't recall that. But you sort of hope that the feces never comes. That's sort of what you do. So when she's saying, I don't recall meeting Jeffrey Epstein, you know she's met Jeffrey Epstein. You know she has. You know she knows she has. But I don't recall is basically like, I don't think there's proof I've met Jeffrey Epstein. But if you say, I don't think there's proof I met Jeffrey Epstein, it doesn't sound quite as good. That never plays quite as well in public relations, saying there's no proof I ever met him. So instead, she says, I don't recall ever meeting him.
meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few
Okay, so that one, I think there's pictures of me with Ghislaine Maxwell.
occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So,
Okay, this is the best. I love this.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So, it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about. They are accused, and
I don't want this to be the heart of what this is about. Everyone knows my husband. Everyone knows his proclivity for the young honeys. You all assume that the young honeys were all legal. We're starting to wonder whether he started moving into things that were frighteningly sick and disgusting. But yeah, a lot of people come to, our global initiatives. So I think I met her. I think I met her. We'll talk about that.
And in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And we are more than happy to say what we know, which is very limited and
very limited,
totally unrelated to their behavior or their crimes. And we want to do it in public because let's make this transparent. The survivors deserve that. The public deserves that. But, the Republican member of Congress who is running this hearing or this investigation is trying to protect the president. So
I'll tell you this. I want it public. I wish it was public. I would have like 2 weeks worth of content out of 6 hours of this. I could be doing this. I'd have to be going day and night. I'd be like with the popcorn. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why can't they do this in public? 2 days of it. That's what I want. 2 days. Give a day for Bill and a day for Hillary. Oh, that would be so great. That would be so great. It may yet happen.
let's get to what's really at stake here.
Let's get to it. What's really at stake here is that your husband was dancing around Southeast Asia where there is no issue about ages of consent, and in Jeffrey Epstein in the Lolita Express, and then coming home with all these pictures of him with girls who have to be blacked out. So yeah, that's kind of one of the issues here. Oh, also that Jeffrey Epstein helped set up your whole charitable organization and gave it seed money of $1 million when he started your foundation for you. That guy who you never met. For your very charitable works, which no one knows what it's ever done. For any people who are actually struggling other than you and your husband, who were struggling when you left the White House and are not struggling anymore.
On this hearing, and obviously I'm sure Donald Trump and his administration would reject your characterization of what's going on, and he's denied any
How can they
wrongdoing.
reject it? They can't answer questions, and the Attorney General was clearly unwilling to answer questions. She works for him. So
she answered every question she answered. This is one of the things the left is trying to basically say, that she was not answering questions. I see question after question that she answered. They didn't like her answers, but she answered question after question, far more than you're answering them.
let's be very clear here.
Well, let us be clear. Let us be clear.
According to what we now know, Mr. Trump, President Trump, is mentioned, some say, 1 million times.
They keep loving to make up this number. Some say. Who's some? Who's some? What the hell is that? I've seen 38,000 times, and most of them are him cursing out Donald Trump. Who cares? Who cares? How is that relevant? But you're desperately trying to deflect to Trump.
In the files. People in his cabinet are mentioned.
Is correct?
That's what it says, on the internet over and over again.
Oh, it says on the internet. Oh, someone on the internet says it. I'm repeating what's on the internet. People on the internet are going to be quoting me saying I said 1,000,000 times. And then I'll come back to you next week and say people are saying 1,000,000 times. The Reaper, freaking Epstein-funded bill with millions to get to the Clinton Global Initiative off the ground. They are so done. They are so done.
So let's find out what the truth is. That's why we want it to be transparent and in public.
And on that, your upcoming appearance before the Oversight Committee, where are we with that? You want to appear in public versus closed door deposition. Is it going ahead, and how? What is the format going to be?
We will show up, but we think it would be better to have it in public.
I hope they do in public. I don't like this. I don't like these closed door meetings either. Please do it in public. Please. Come on, James Comer, do it in public.
Because what we want is for everybody to get to the facts about.
Get to the facts. Get to the facts. You're doing everything to gaslight on the facts, but you want everyone to get to the facts.
About this. We have nothing to hide.
Nothing.
We have called for the full release of these files repeatedly.
When? When? After the law was passed? When? After they were released?
We think sunlight is the best disinfectant. Get the files out. They are slow walking it.
Never, ever asked for it. Never, never.
They are redacting the names of men who are in it. They are stonewalling legitimate requests from members of Congress. That has nothing to do with us. Something.
And that is a failing of Pam Bondi. And it's so aggravating that she's failing in this so miserably, because it gives them this opening of trying to pretend that there's something there incriminating for Donald Trump.
Is going on. They know
what's
it.
going on is that you're basically desperately trying to deflect to Trump. That's what's going on.
I know it. If they're going to have me testify, I would prefer to do it in public because I want everybody to see it at the same time. If I have to do it behind closed doors, they're not going to like what I have to say because I
They're not going to like
have very strong opinions about what it is they're hiding and who they are protecting.
Oh, big surprise about that. This is like such a spoiler. Ooh, it's a mystery what you think. They're not going to like it. Oh, they got a rude awakening coming into them. You got a rude awakening.
I just want to ask you, there are calls for another individual who denies wrongdoing to go before Congress on this matter. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. Do you think he should testify?
I think everybody should testify. Look,
including the former prince.
I think everybody should testify who is asked to testify. I just want it to be fair. I want everybody treated the same way. That's not true for my husband and me because other witnesses were asked to testify. They gave written statements under oath. We offered that.
Of course you offered that. Of course you offered that. Of course you offered that. Other people gave written statements under oath. Who? Like nobodies that no one ever cared about?
Want to pull us. Why did they want to pull us into this? To divert attention from President Trump.
Because everyone knows that Bill Clinton, because has seen the pictures of Bill Clinton. Okay.
This is not complicated.
No, it's not complicated. You're trying to pretend it's complicated and try and say it's a whole conspiracy here to try and cover up for Trump. Oh, we have to deflect to you.
So obvious, and they keep trying to divert.
It is obvious, honey.
Look at this shiny object. We're going to have the Clintons, even Hillary Clinton, who never met the guy.
Never met the guy. She's now she's like pretty sure. Before she couldn't recall. Now I've never met him. Never met the guy. Oh, okay. He just gave you $1 million. Never met him. Never met him. Okay.
I have her there. Let's focus on what's really happening here. You have
He was one of the biggest donors to her senatorial runs. He started her foundation. She had nothing. In public would be a constant Trump bashing. She wants to bash Trump. She wants Trump to testify. Closed door, more thorough, no theater. Yeah. It would be when the Democrats are asking a question. Why do you think that they brought you in here? But who cares? She's been preaching the same idiocy about Trump for 10 years.
Attorney General and a Justice Department attempting to hide information that should be made public.
I just want to ask you, though, because as many people have said, being in the Epstein files does not mean that you've done anything wrong. But speaking for yourself and for your family, what was your reaction when you saw some of the material that has been released? I'm thinking, for example, of images of your husband apparently in a hot tub in a swimming pool on Epstein's plane. What was your reaction to that? And
yeah, my reaction was I wanted to poison him. My reaction was he knows all the same contacts I know. So which of them can I get to turn on him and mug him? That was my reaction.
do you know the context surrounding some of those images?
Absolutely. And it wasn't a hot tub on a plane. It was
Oh, you're getting your facts all wrong. It wasn't a hot tub on a plane. It was a hot tub separate time. Okay, that was after they landed in Thailand. Why do you think it's a hot tub on? There was no hot tub on the plane. I've been on that plane 1,000 times. Actually, I don't think she's been on the plane. There's no record of her taking flights on the plane, so I don't want to mislead any. But there was no hot tub on the plane, and she didn't say there was a hot tub on the plane. But that's her trying to just gaslight. But that's what the question implied.
was one of the stops they made to look at philanthropic and charitable work that might.
The philanthropic hot tub. Why is this even a question? The philanthropic hot tub with the girls in the bikinis. One of those philanthropic, those charitable works. Why is this even, who's confused about this? Why would you even ask such a question? This is all part of the philanthropic way. Everyone knows this.
My husband has done, saving literally millions of lives.
Millions of lives. Point to one. Give us one. Give us one. We can point to dozens. I'll tell you what. If every one person you can point to who's alive because of you, I'll point to 3 who are dead. Oh my God. Oh my God. She's so deluded. She's so deluded.
Around the world. It turned out that was done long before there was any public awareness and certainly any conviction of any crime by Jeffrey Epstein.
He was committing the crimes with your husband. That's the problem.
So it was a short period of time.
That's what most people feel. He was probably committing the crimes with your husband.
That was in pursuit of charitable philanthropic work. A lot
charitable philanthropic work. She's going to keep saying that. She's just going to keep saying that. Yeah, why? Because like I said, Jeffrey Epstein literally built the Clinton Foundation. His philanthropic work.
A lot of people were traveling at the same time. Many staff members,
Lots
guests,
of people
other
traveling.
supporters of the foundation.
It was just a
If
craziness.
Bill and I had a penny for every person we've taken pictures with, we would be extremely rich today.
You are extremely rich today. And it's because of Jeffrey Epstein. You are extremely rich. You're worth hundreds of millions of dollars today because of Jeffrey Epstein. Oh my God. She makes as if they're just people passing through. How can anyone keep track of any of this? How can anyone keep track of any of this? I need to pull a picture for you. Yeah. Just people who were around. They were nothing important. We didn't know anything about them. That's Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the 400 guests at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. We didn't even know them. If I had a penny for every person we took a picture with, we would be really rich people. She's at your wedding. You only married off one kid. You only had one kid you married off, and she was there. If I had a penny for every person who came up and just asked us for an autograph, I'd be a rich woman. I promise you this. I promise you this. I promise you that Hillary Clinton has a lot more money than a penny for every person who asked her for her autograph. A lot more money. A lot more money than a penny for every person who asked for her autograph. Oh my God.
Let's move on to what we're seeing. You've just come from the Munich Security Conference, and a lot of people are talking about the idea of a new world order. I'm interested in your thoughts in terms of.
I'm feeling like the rest of this is probably boring. The rest of this is probably boring. I'll give it like another minute or two.
Transatlantic relations between Europe and the United States. Do you think they have permanently shifted, that there is no going back to the way things were before?
Well, I think time will tell whether we are going to support the rule of law, support the strong alliances that were forged through and after World War II, create an area of peace and security in the transatlantic or not. And as I said in Munich, I think that comes down to whether or not the people in America turn out Donald Trump and Republicans who are more concerned about Putin than they are about democracy.
All right, this part is stereotypical boring stuff that she said a billion times. Hands One Pack says, I don't want in public because that's the 5-minute grandstanding. In private, it's 20 minutes per side and still recorded. Less grandstanding. Are we going to get a recording? You think we're going to get a recording of that? I don't think we're getting a recording. I don't think that's happening. Yes says her name was Charlie. It's the charitable work Bill did with Epstein. Oh, her name was Charity. It's the charitable work Bill did with Epstein. Hey, Charity, get on in here. Jacob Cash says, it depends on what the definition of charitable is. Hands One Pack, she wants public because it's a circus, just public, bunch of grandstanding. Santiago Space Outlaw says, Joe, I'm a little behind, usually poke fun. Serious question. The First Amendment seems to consider freedom of speech and freedom of the press as two different things. So we had, if you caught me on laid back law, and this ties into my earlier topic, which is why he's asking this when he's a little behind. So I will pause and tell you this. So I'm pretty sure it was on laid back law that I had a whole conversation with Nate and Ron where we were talking about the distinction between freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Because the press does not mean someone with a stupid journalist badge. Press means anyone, it means something. And it's not the journalist badge that means the press. What does it mean? What does that mean? What's the difference? So the objective to freedom of the press is the freedom to disseminate information that you have. Does that also include the freedom to collect information? So for purposes of dissemination, I don't know. But, you know, freedom of speech is the right to say what you want without being punished by the government. Freedom of the press is the right to disseminate that information. Now, when you're speaking, you're disseminating information, right? If I speak in print, that also is disseminating information. So like where exactly is the difference? Where's that distinction lie between freedom of speech and freedom of the press? And I think that if the primary function is to disseminate information, I think that that's where we're talking about freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is going to include a freedom of speech element to it. So then once you have freedom of speech, why do you need freedom of the press? Why would you even need to have such a thing? Because by stepping on my freedom of the press, you automatically step on my freedom of speech. Unless I guess you can say, if I, you have to think, you put yourself in 18th century mindset. One of the things I was pointing out during the course of that conversation is in the context of 18th century America, when they're drafting the Bill of Rights, they could not possibly conceive of what we have today, where our press is live reporting incidents and, laying in their own perspective on things. So now the line between freedom of press and freedom of speech is that much more glommed together and difficult to separate from each other, because you have someone standing here, standing at an event while it's happening and transmitting it to the public. They're certainly the reason that what they're trying to do is they're not speaking themselves. I guess that's where freedom of press comes in. It's like, I'm not speaking myself. I'm sort of sharing what happened here. So I'm not telling you what's right or wrong, but I guess I'm reporting on what someone else says if I quote someone. So that's freedom of the press. It's not my speech that I'm protecting. It's this other person whose speech I'm retransmitting over to you. So that's freedom of the press, less a freedom. It's much less a freedom of speech thing. But they're very, very difficult, especially in today's iteration of media compared to the 18th century. Today's iteration, the line is that much more blurry than it was in the 18th century. 18th century, freedom of speech was someone standing up in public and talking and then not being punished for what they say. Now, and freedom of press was you're going to print something out and then send out your newspapers and, write whatever you want without to try and share that information with the public. It was much easier to distinguish. Today, it's much, much tougher to distinguish. So maybe freedom of the press is not like such a necessary thing anymore, especially because freedom of speech today is so broadcasted. Meaning, when I was talking about how freedom of the press has become freedom of speech, now when you speak, you're pretty much a journalist. You're pretty much, when you go on X and you post something out, this is your free speech, which is also technically a type of journalism. You're giving your perspective on events of the day. So you're talking about it, so you're sort of a member you're that much more a journalist. That's why I said the line has become so blurry today with social media. It's become impossible to really distinguish between what the hell is the difference if you're searching through X or Facebook. What's the difference between something that was said by John Robot 6184 or CBS News? It's just a different box. It looks the same. A little different logo. I mean, what the hell's the difference? There's no difference. In fact, John Robot 614X is probably more likely to be telling you the truth than CBS News. As if truth is a role in freedom of press, because that's definitely not true. Yeah, Nick Shirley is 1,000 times better than most people in the press. Yeah, I guess, Wikipedia is a freedom of the press type of thing. It's not my speech. I'm sort of making a platform for other people to share their speech. Or WikiLeaks, And yeah, I think I'm done with her, though. I think we're done with her. We're going to stop with Hillary here. That's enough out of you, honey. We had enough fun with you. We were talking about how Jasmine Crockett may replace Whoopi Goldberg, and I meant to bring up this thing here. This fits also with Epstein. Listening to Whoopi Goldberg talk about her name being on the list of people. It's kind of funny.
Now, in the name of transparency, can you put up my name is in the files? Yes. And what does it say? It says, Whoopi needs a plane to get to Monaco. John Lennon's charity, it should say Julian Lennon's charity, is paying for it. They don't they don't want to charter, so they're looking for private owners. Here's the info. And they give all the information, and they're saying, do you want to offer your G2?
And it looks like they said no thanks.
Yeah.
So in other words, anybody can be on this list.
Well, this is my point, because I'm telling you, when I tell you people are trying to turn me into, I wasn't his girlfriend. I wasn't his friend.
You were too old for him.
I was not only too old, but it was at a time, where this is just not, you used to have facts before you said stuff.
But Trump was on the list 38,000 times.
Well, I can't.
Whoopi Goldberg being mad that someone who's serving as like sort of a news agency is someone who's reporting things. You used to have facts. What has your whole career been about for the last 3 decades?
I speak to him, but I'm speaking about me because I'm getting dragged. People actually believe that I was with him. It's like, honey, come on. Every man that I've ever been with, you've known about him because either the Inquirer wrote it about it. Your people wrote about this stuff. So no, I never had this, and no, I didn't get on the plane because you know what I would have to do to get on the plane? Fly. They were trying to,
and she doesn't fly.
No, so they're trying
She's
to
a
get
bus
me.
babe.
They're trying to get me to get on a plane to get to this thing for Julian Lang.
Yeah, but the thing is, they dropped like 300 names.
Yes.
And it's like flood the.
And I do think that her name on there is kind of stupid. It's ridiculous that her name's on there.
Zone, because when you're looking, there are people like Marilyn Monroe who was dead.
Elvis.
Yeah, a lot of people, because a lot of the reasons your name can be mentioned are news articles, third-party emails, contacts. Again.
Yeah, and I went through this with you all yesterday. The list there is pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid. It's more confusing than it is. It's more confusing than if there was there was no list at all. Yeah, and by the way, just so you know that I was, sharing with you what's widely understood to be facts as far as Epstein helping build the Clinton Foundation. I mean, even the New York Times says Epstein files reveal scope of Ghislaine Maxwell role in Clinton circle. Jeffrey Epstein's longtime companion helped advise on the kickoff of the Clinton Global Initiative and arranged for $1 million in funding for its email show. If I had a penny for every person who we posed with, if I had a penny, oh my God. One more bit of news that I should share with you in case you missed it, which you may have if you haven't been following the news in the last few hours. You may be unaware of it. Jesse Jackson has died. And in other important news, I'll just, I don't have any kind of love for Jesse Jackson. I will say that when he ran for president, he seemed like the stupidest person who's ever run for president. And sadly, it just got worse and worse after him. I'm watching some of the things he said. I was watching some of the things he said when he was running, and he sounds a lot more intelligent than other people, including Obama. But one of the things that, this is what Donald Trump says about him. Reverend Jesse Jackson is dead at 84. I knew him well, long before becoming president. He was a good man, lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. He was very gregarious, someone who truly loved people, if they were black. Despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. I provided office space for him and his Rainbow Coalition for years. This is before rainbow meant something specific. In the Trump building at 40 Wall Street, responded to his request for help in getting criminal justice reform passed and signed when no other president would even try, single-handedly pushed and passed long-term funding for historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, which Jesse loved, but also which other presidents would not do. Responded to Jesse's support for opportunity zones, the single most successful economic development package yet approved for black businessmen, women, and much more. Jesse was a force of nature like few others before him. He had much to do with the election without acknowledgement or credit of Barack Hussein Obama, a man who Jesse could not stand. He loved his family greatly, and to them I send my deepest sympathies and condolences. Jesse will be missed. President Donald J. Trump. So he and Jesse always had a very healthy relationship. I personally was not a fan of the man. I remember when that guy referred to New York as Hammy Town, because that's when I learned that that was a slur. Not only that, I learned it was a slur against me. I never even heard of it. I never even heard that slur before. I was like, what does that even mean? Apparently, that's when I learned that Hammy was a slur for Jews. I didn't know that until he actually called New York Hammy Town. That was back in the 80s. Anyhow, so now he's gone to meet his maker. And adios. And finally, tonight, I want to talk to you all about another great New Yorker. Yeah, freedom of the press. See, what is this? See, I like this point you're making here. Free reign for Joe rants on Good Logic channel. Is that press? Is that speech? That's exactly, you're making the point. Because I would have called it freedom of speech, but it is freedom of the press also. This right now, that I'm doing right now, is this free speech? Or is this freedom of the press? Yes, you can call it either. Zohran Mamdani, another great New Yorker. I mean, I'm saying that facetiously, obviously. In case you're not familiar with who Zohran Mamdani is, let me introduce you. I got a little clip here to share with you just who Zohran Mamdani is. Because he needs to knows. He definitely needs to knows.
Want to see a liar?
I want to say it very clearly. I will not defund the police.
Lie.
I am in favor of defunding the police.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Oh, wait, another lie.
I was speaking about Zerafui, my father's cousin.
Doesn't wear a hijab.
I don't really have opinions about the future of Hamas and Israel beyond the question of justice and safety.
Maybe he's telling the truth on this one. Oh, wait, nope, lie.
The struggle for Palestinian liberation was at the core of my politics and continues to be. I am not, and nor have I ever called for the legalization of prostitution.
You guessed it, lie.
You support decriminalizing prostitution?
Yes. My fundamental belief that sex work is work. I would be happy to work with the president and the administration.
Lie.
We need to be doing here in our city is to end the chapter of collaboration between City Hall and the federal government.
I don't believe that the role of the mayor is to police speech.
Lying again.
There are consequences for speaking up in favor of apartheid.
So just find out who you're voting for before you vote who you're voting for.
Great little clip there. Great little clip. That was from, I don't know who that is. We'll come through you and share that out. But it's a great little clip. All right. Well, Zohran Mamdani told folks, we're going to freeze rents. That's what we're going to do. We're freezing rents. And here's him breaking down what's going to happen now.
Would rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However,
he's trying to actually go through the books. Now that he's like actually sitting in the seat, he's like, he's seeing what his budget is. He's like, these numbers don't add up. What are we going to do? I don't know what to do. I'm $5 billion short. What should I do? I'm $5 billion short.
in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
increase property taxes for the next couple of years. Because then they're going to go down. After that, they're going to go down. It's a short window of time that we have to increase property taxes by 9%. It's just a short little window of time that we need to do that. What happens when you raise property taxes? What happens to rent when you do that? You sort of have to raise rent. That's what you need to do because you're not able to meet your bills otherwise. Ruh-roh. Here he is explaining in greater detail. He's issuing an ultimatum to none other than the other sick, twisted person, Kathy Hochul, governor of New York.
For those who have watched budget after budget, it is tempting to assume that we are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are two paths to bridge this gap.
He's short $5 billion, $5.5 billion. So he's trying to figure out that basically their expected revenue is 120 billion and their budget is 125. So he has two ways to fix this.
The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations.
So I need Kathy Hochul to raise taxes on the rich, tax the rich, because that's always a good plan for keeping people around in your states. Tax the rich.
The onus for resolving this crisis should not be placed on the backs of working and middle-class New Yorkers. If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return.
As if raising taxes means that you're just going to make more money, which is not true. It's actually not true because when you raise taxes, people basically go elsewhere. And sometimes it actually makes you have less money. The whole concept as to how they set the tax rate, in case you're unfamiliar with this, which Zohran Mamdani either has no familiarity or he's lying to his constituents. Historically, governments tax at what is the most efficient rate for them to maximize their revenues. You think that the reason that there's not higher taxes in New York is because they have compassion for their constituents? No, silly boy. No, that's not it. If you're a woman, I apologize for misgendering you. No, it's their objective is to maximize their revenues. And they know that, hey, if you start taxing people at too high a rate, they go elsewhere and your total take from your state and from those people is lower, not higher. So they try to figure out what is the highest amount we can charge that we're actually going to be maximizing, that will have people here doing business here, taxable business here, that we can charge and raise revenues without scaring them off. So they're not doing business in a different locale. So they're not fleeing. So if your objective is to maximize and say, hey, we need more money now, tax the rich is not an answer which actually ends up filling your coffers. All it is a slogan. It's a slogan to get the masses to say, huzzah, tax the rich. And often, unless you're dirt poor and not paying taxes, it means tax you, middle-class people. That's right. Because you're considered rich compared to the homeless folk. You're rich. So we're going to tax you. That's what it means. So that's his first answer is let's do something that is a surefire way to actually reduce our overall tax revenues. Because he's a communist. And communists know if I tell other commies we're going to tax the rich, they all cheer without actually trying to think about the math.
year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path.
You know, it's more harmful because it means even them poor folk, even the ones who are like living paycheck to paycheck, are going to have to pay higher rent.
Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
Raise property taxes. That's what he's saying. 45 days into his administration, this buffoon who swore he's going to freeze rents, lock those rent rates in, is going to be jacking up property taxes. So now, within the city of New York, there are roughly, we did the math on this probably a month, and I want to say, I think it was actually, it may have been before the elections. It was a few months back. I was talking to you at that point as to the fact that there's rent control. Oh, no. I know when it was. It was when I went to Ron Coleman's wedding. That's what it was. So when did his son's wedding? At his son's wedding, that's where I was talking to a commercial appraiser, and he was talking to me about how the rent control has been destroying and making a crisis, a housing crisis in New York. So if you missed that show, I'll just give you a brief synopsis of it. The way it had worked before de Blasio came in there and as with his commie tendencies was you have roughly 1 million units in the city of New York out of like 2 million units. There are like 2 million places to live in New York, and half of them roughly are rent control, qualified as rent control. Rent control means you can only raise rents by something like 2%, which does not match the price of inflation. So whenever when you lock someone in, the next year you can only raise their rents by 2% or thereabouts. It's roughly 2%. I don't know if it's exactly 2%. So I was explaining then, if you look at a building which has 50 units in it, 75 units in it, and all different tenants who are living there, you would see that the rent prices for the same apartment, one right above, one right below, it might be 30% of what the guy above him is paying and 60% of what the guy below him is paying. Meaning guy in the middle might be paying $900 a month, guy above him might be paying $2,400 a month, and the guy right below him might be paying $1,800 a month. I'm just making up these numbers because frankly, no one's paying $900 a month anymore. But why is that? It's because what would happen is you could only raise it by 2% per year until someone moved out. So they would keep raising it 2% per year, and units that had a lot of turnover. So between tenants, they would jack up the rate. So that's why the guy living above him had a lot of different turnover of different tenants, and the landlord had an opportunity, jack up the rate. But if the middle unit there, someone was living there for 40 years, so now it's only been going up at 2% per year, and they never had an opportunity to jack up the rate. Why do they jack it up? Because what ends up happening is when you want to let it out to someone else, you want to lease the property, the unit, to a different person, you have to make the place livable. So you need to invest into the unit. Any unit, even if you have, some old grandma living there, it has wear and tear. So if she's been living there for 40 years, nothing's happened in that unit for 40 years. So it's got the same sinks and the same whatever as it had when she moved in there. So everything is outdated. Everything is, basically all ancient, eroded, worn away. So when she moves out, what they would do is they'd be like, all right, let's put $100,000 into fixing this unit up, and we'll jack up the rate. And that way we'll make the money back over, or basically it's like fronting a loan to the new tenants because you're going to be paying a higher rate, and that's going to help us catch up for the cost of maintenance and fixing this place up. What de Blasio did in 2019 was he said, when someone moves out, you cannot jack up the rate. It's still the same 2%. And it's been like that since 2019. So what would happen when someone moved out of a unit that they had been living there for 40 years? What happens to that unit? Nothing. You want to know why? Because no one can live there. No one wants to move into a place that hasn't been touched in 40 years. And if you're a landlord, you can't afford to invest in it because you never can make that money back. You can never make that money back because you can't jack up the rate. You're stuck at the same stupid 2%, which is why there is a growing crisis in New York for two reasons. Number one, in order to help inflate New York's numbers in the Electoral College, they said, let's bring in all these illegal aliens. So you have that many more people who are looking for housing in New York. Plus, you're having fewer and fewer units to actually house people because some of these units that had people living in them, when they die or move out, no one's moving in there. There's no investment. There's no reason to invest in it. You have and these properties end up going underwater because once you stop getting rents, what ends up happening? Well, now you have a mortgage on the building. You're not getting any income from the building. So what ends up happening? It ends up going to the bank. And who wants to buy this property? No one wants to buy this property. Property values have been tumbling in New York because why would you want to buy a property? You can't. Why would you ever want to buy a commercial residence? You have to be an idiot because you can't invest money in it. It used to be that you can invest money into a place. You throw money in there. I'll make a few dollars, from my investment. And I'll be able to, make that back by raising my rent. You can't raise the rent anymore. The law says you can't raise it. So now what are you supposed to do? And if the only reason anyone's buying residential property on multiple dwelling residences in New York is because they're hoping that eventually New York is going to wake up. Because right now you can get property commercial. You can buy these multiple dwelling residences for a relative song compared to what they were going 7 years ago, because there's no way in the current environment that the law allows it to be something that is financially viable. It is financially unviable. Well, whatever. It's basically financial suicide to try and put money in. And if this current legal environment is going to stay the same, you think Mamdani's going to overturn this? No. You think he's going to be like, oh, yeah, sure, we're going to let landlords jack up the rent? Please. That's exactly opposite of everything he's about. So this is a disaster. The housing crisis is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. It's just, there's nothing, unless the only way it wouldn't get worse is if people flee New York, which is why people are fleeing New York. So you don't have such a housing crisis. No one wants to live in the damn place. But that doesn't exactly help you with raising revenues. So there's a real problem going on there. And it's all because of these communists, like de Blasio, who was a hardcore lefty, lunatic dude. And this guy Mamdani is just going to make it worse. So that's the state of affairs in the state of New York. It's a mess. The city of New York specifically. It's a bloody mess. And they're going to be raising property taxes now? Good luck. Listen when I say one thing, but watch as I do another. Yep, exactly. Dude is so two-faced. He has to be two-faced because every one of his policies is retarded. It's just not something that's viable. I'm not sure when you say Hands One Pack says near budget is $14K per person per year. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what that means. Jade Schwalbeck says, Joe, I've been adding cream to the ice signs. F ice cream. Go lactose free. I also got this. It's pretty funny. Epstein. Bill was going around with Epstein to do charity. That's funny. That's funny. That's pretty good. Who brought us that? That's from fans. That's pretty funny. Hands one says, after Trump's court lose, developers also don't want to invest. Oh, after Trump's court loss, developers also don't want to invest. Mr. Wonderful pulled out. Yep. His city is heading to financial ruin. So maybe it's good to have Mamdani there because their financial ruin's coming quickly to them. It's bad for Trump if they have financial ruin, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that's my show, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm going to be landing my plane over here. I appreciate you all joining me. God willing, I'll be back here tomorrow evening. Until then, I am going to remind you all to make sure that if you see lab meat, you just keep on walking. Just walk right on by, because lab meat was never meant for you. It was meant for they, them. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Just stay away. Have a good night, my friends. Oh, wait, should I redirect? I should do that. Let me redirect y'all. Let me do that real quick.
Stab weight.
I should do that. Let me do that. Let me see if he's here. Pay it forward. That's what I like to do. I'll pay it forward by sending you forward. There you go. I'll send you to this guy. I'm gonna send you this guy. Oh, you don't even know where you're going. You're going good places. Good places I'm sending you. Good places. When you get there, tell him Joey says hi. Till then, my friends, have a good night. And as always, Godspeed.